All right, everybody, welcome to Never Stop Healing. This is your podcast where you can learn the secrets to longevity, to living a pain-free life, and to fully expressing your health. Today, we're going to be talking about some interesting things that relate to the recharge phase of the Accelerate Wellness program. And we're also going to be sharing with you some new insights that I've gotten in my research that I've been doing for Dan Sullivan on his new tool called Fitness 50 at age 100. And I'm so excited about this. Dan Sullivan's launching his brand new series called the Lifetime Extender Series. And so Lifetime Extension Series. And so if you're not in that, if you're not in Strategic Coach, make sure you check that out because it's the only group that I know of, the only place where you can actually talk about longevity and talk about things that you'd like to do as a 100-year-old or 120-year-old. It's things that we don't really, it's hard to wrap your mind around it. But the very first thing that we think about in longevity is we say, well, what are we going to do when we're that old? And what's the point? Because, as many of you have heard Dan Sullivan on my podcast previously throughout the years, is, he says there's four things that cause us to die. And that's, you run out of purpose, you run out of time, you run out of money, and you run out of relationships. And so, if you think of this, it's the Lifetime Extender program with a Strategic Coach. It's for Strategic Coach members only, but it launches today. And so I'll be speaking on that, and I'll be sharing some of the tools today. I'll go through that. But the other thing I want to talk about, which is so important, is just workouts and recovery, because one of the best things that we can do, and if we could put one little thing into a pill, it would be exercise, or the benefits of exercise, I should say, and putting some of that stress on the body. And so we'll be talking about some things you can do to maximize that in your life. And then, of course, I'll answer any questions that you all have. And, just to give you a recap of last night's, our hack is very interesting because, we did share, we launched this tool called Fitness 50 at the age 100. And this is the tool I've been working on with Dan Sullivan. And so we'll have a more official copy. I know a lot of you said, I want to get a copy of that. And we'll have that coming up very soon for you. But I'm going to go through that again. I'll jump into that real quick and this morning. And then we're going to be talking about doing a pain reset. And then I'll also share with you all some secrets that you can do when it comes to recovering. And if you're looking to build muscle mass, or if you're looking to really accelerate some of your wellness, then we're going to help you figure out ways of doing that. But first of all, before we start, how many of you have ever been sore? Like you've had muscle soreness from working out hard? And okay, so a lot of you have. How many of you have ever been at that place where you think that just because you don't have soreness, you don't feel like you've done an adequate job of working out, and you push yourself? I know for most of my life until I was about 35, that's what I always believed. I would gauge the quality of my workout based on the soreness of my body. And so if you look at some of the fitness myths, one of the biggest fitness myths that we can get into is that we have not pushed ourselves well if we're not sore. And so if you look at some of the studies that have been published in the Journal of Exercise Physiology, one of the ways that you can predict the quality of your workout is not how sore you are, but really it's you don't want your soreness levels to be above a 2 or a 3, from a workout. You want to have adequate recovery, because your last workout is only as good as your recovery is. And so as you're doing some of these, as you're starting to push the envelope a little bit in your exercise routine, do yourself a favor and just ask yourself how sore you are. And that will be a good gauge to determine if you want to keep pushing yourself or if you need a little extra time off. And just some of the peptides that are game changers. We now have the Thymosin Beta-4 frag, but it's a new formulation by Dr. Holtorf. He's been working on this for almost 2 years on this new formula. It's a fragment of the Thymosin Beta-4 peptide, but it works great for mitigating any kind of muscle soreness. Thymosin Beta-4 is angiogenic, so it helps with better circulation. So one of the ways that we can put on greater muscle mass is by stimulating what's called hypertrophy. And so hypertrophy comes when you overload your muscles and where you take them to fatigue. And it's actually a really good thing because, as we mentioned in a couple podcasts ago, one of the biggest organs in our body, and it's the organ that requires the most insulin, is your muscles. It also has the most hydration based on mass alone. Almost 40+% of mass in your body is muscle, but it's the building of that system that's going to be necessary for longevity. But you want to be able to recover. And so Thymosin Beta-4 is one of those peptides. It's angiogenic. It has, which means it brings blood circulation to the muscles. That helps aid in ATP and muscle fiber growth. The other thing that Thymosin Beta-4 does is it stimulates stem cells. And so when your body goes through that phase where cells stop replicating as healthy as they can, or if you have damage to an area and you need stem cells to come and repopulate areas that have been damaged, well, it's your stem cells that are really going to help your body recover as well. And so Thymosin Beta-4 is a great one. Tesamorelin is the other peptide that you can use as far as recovery goes and growth, because it does stimulate the growth hormone pathway. And so Tesamorelin, not only is it great for liver regeneration, but really amazing for building muscle health. And then the final one is Sacrotropin ipamorelin. And this is the peptide. It's a liquid base. So if you don't like the injections, well, Thymosin Beta-4, you can do it oral, and it's just a capsule. Sacrotropin ipamorelin, it's got both GHRP2 and GHRP6. Those are growth hormone releasing peptide 2 and 6. And it also has L-citrulline, L-arginine, and then it's got GABA, DMAE. So it's really good for the brain, but it's an oral based, and it did go through the phase 3 clinical trials with the FDA for sarcopenia, and that's where you have the wasting of the muscle mass and where muscle gets replaced by fat. And so the Sacrotropin ipamorelin is really good for stimulating greater levels of muscle mass. And it also in the studies, they found that the participants who used it for 90 days had up to a 9% increase in lean muscle mass gain and a 6% decrease in fat distribution and fat loss. So there's a conversion of fat into muscle. They also had a 16% increase in IGF-1, and IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, is the workhorse for growth hormones. So it's a really potent formula, and it's one of the few growth hormone releasing peptide that you can use orally because it's not bioavailable. So what the pharmacy does is they put in about 100 times the dose that you would have in an injectable form, so that because you only absorb about 3% of it orally. So very interesting. So these are some things you can do right out of the gates. And anytime you're jumping into a new exercise routine, remember, soreness is not the goal. The goal is just having continual improvement. So what I'm going to show you in this Fitness 50 at age 100 in this checklist is I'm going to show you just ways that you can continually push the needle. And some of you are going to put your own, your own workouts in here. But this is based on research from the Mayo Clinic. It's based on research that I found on Harvard educational site. It's some of the members in Go Wellness have shared some of their insights on this. And so as I go through these different categories, there's 4 major categories. Don't get stuck in the gap where you're like, I can't even do a push-up, and now Reagan's asking me to do, a whole bunch of them, or I can't do a full squat. Those things are fine. It gives you something to work up to, but just start where you're at, and that's the biggest thing that we all need to do. I think it was Jim Rohn. I'll probably butcher this quote, but he says the first source of inspiration, or the kind of the low level source of inspiration, is planning. The middle level of inspiration is scheduling, and then the biggest source of inspiration is starting. And so I'm going to encourage everybody on this today to just start. If you haven't started a workout routine, start today. If you've started on one, and you're looking for improvements, whether you want more strength, more muscle mass, or maybe you just want better endurance, or you're looking for greater levels of fitness for longevity, or maybe you've got some big summer hikes coming up. I'm just going to encourage everybody today. Let's all just start. And you can't start if you don't have a baseline. And so this will be your baseline. So for those of you who are listening to this, you can't see my screen, because I know a lot of you listen to our podcast. But for those of you who are watching the YouTube video, great, you can see my screen here. And I'm going to go through the Fitness 50 at age 100. And once again, this was a term coined by Dan Sullivan, a strategic coach. And he's asked me to help him create this cool tool. And I'm really excited today. We've got a big group in the Lifetime Extension Program that we'll be able to be talking about this with like-minded humans who have goals to live, really long, healthy life. And so the first thing that you look at, once again, there's range of motion is really critical in the movements. And so push-ups, if you don't have any shoulder issues, ideally you're going to come down to the ground. Your body's going to be in a plank position where your whole body's elevated, and you're going to keep your core tight. You can even squeeze your glutes when you do push-ups, but the very first marker for upper body strength is push-ups. And there's been interesting studies. Many of you have heard me talk about the fireman study, where they found that firemen who could do up to 40 push-ups in under a minute, those firemen in the future, they didn't have cardiovascular events. And so push-ups are one of the best things you can do for cardiovascular health, for upper body strength, putting on muscle mass. It's amazing. And so the goal is to get to 15 push-ups in 50 seconds. And so this is where, if you set a timer, 50 seconds, see if you can push up 15 times. And if you need to modify it, that's great. Just go down on your knees and modify the push-up on your knees. If you need to go against a wall and push up against a wall, that's a fine modification in the beginning too. And then as you get stronger, you just continually progress upwards, where you change your push-up, or you actually just add more reps. And so you can do both of those. So the core level of fitness. So if you're at 100 years old and you look back at yourself as a 50-year-old, what do you want to be able to do? Well, I know for myself, I want to be able to do 15 push-ups in less than 50 seconds. And so that would be a great goal, right? How many 100-year-olds do you see doing push-ups? Well, if you guys remember Eugene, his last name escapes me, but he was the world record holder. He was a dentist who retired and started bodybuilding at the age of 87. And so, not only could he, before he started working out, he couldn't do push-ups, but then afterwards he could, and he could lift a lot of weight. And then he took up running shortly after that, a couple of years later, and he holds the world record for 95 plus year olds in the 200 and the 400, I believe, those two events. So pretty interesting things that can happen no matter what age you're at. But the push-up goal, the number one, is get to 15. That's the fit level. That's level one. Level two is 25. That's the fitter level. And the number three, the level three, is the fittest. And that's, if you can do 40 push-ups in under 50 seconds, you're like pro status. That's where we want you to be. If, just thinking back on that cardiovascular study. Okay, let's go to planks. So does everyone know what a plank is? And I think we've all been there, and you're shaking. And my wife is a Pilates instructor, and so planking is a really big thing in Pilates, and so she's really helped me strengthen my core over the last couple of years with the reformers and doing some of these plank holds. But ideally for upper body strength, core strength, includes, that upper body, then you're going to want to be able to hold a plank for a minute. And that's kind of the baseline level 1. Level 2 is 2 minutes. And then level 3 is 3 minutes. And so go ahead and test yourself on this. And this is what I encouraged all of our Accelerate Wellness members to do last night is let's get a baseline. Let's see where you're at. And then the final one, which is actually really important, because if you think about these exercises, your push-ups, you want to be full range of motion. Plank, obviously you're in a static mode. And so it's not really a full range of motion. But the other thing that can really help activate all the joints in your body and train your brain to start looking at your body as being a strong machine where you're putting on muscle mass is the grip test. And if you have high blood pressure, if you know of anyone who has high blood pressure, one of the reasons we put the grip test in this and the dead hang is because it will help lower blood pressure. And strokes are one of the things that, unfortunately, so many people have strokes, and it causes early death and early dementia. And there's so many issues that can come with strokes. I recently had one of my friends, his father-in-law had a stroke. And so we got his father-in-law on CMAX immediately. And there was an immediate change where he could actually, start to get his cognition back even quicker. Another one of our, a friend of mine had a stroke recently, and acupuncture has been so helpful for him. So if you know of anyone who has a stroke, do something about it immediately. But what we're into here at Never Stop Healing, as you know, is we want to prevent these things from happening. And so the grip test is one way you can lower blood pressure and keep your body very fit. And it trains your brain to think about things differently. So your hippocampus actually gets greater blood volume. And the hippocampus is in charge of movement and recruitment of muscle and balance, coordination. And so the grip test, what you want to do is grab like a monkey bar or a pull-up bar and just hang for 30 seconds and see if you can do just hang with your body weight for 30 seconds. And that's level 1. Level 2 is 60 seconds, where you go a full minute. And I can tell you by the end of the full minute, you can feel it. And then level 3 is 90 seconds. And this is a big one because you're hanging for 90 seconds and see how you do. And what I like to do is do my grip strength and hold for 60 to 90 seconds. And I do that once a week. And I do it 3 different times. So I set my timer, and then I take a minute, so I set my timer for 1.5 minutes, and then I take a minute of a rest. And if my arms have recovered enough, then I'll get back on the bar. But that's a great, easy test you can do. And it's nice to do on an off day, unless you've been doing a lot of deadlifts or, rows where you're using a lot of pulling methods or pull-ups. Let your forearms recover, but doing a hang test it feels so good. And it's really good for your spine because you start decompressing those vertebrae, and then you get nice hydration in the disc space. And by the way, at the clinic, integrated pain specialist is now what is our clinic name. East West Health is actually, we're moving to it. We've got a new location in the same building that we're opening up, where we're doing all functional medicine, peptide therapy, but acupuncture and chiropractic care is now available there. And we're getting a new x-ray machine, new pain interventionists that work with us, just a great team that we've mobilized there. So you guys have probably seen the changes at the clinic. Well, we just brought on a great chiropractor, Dr. Bentley, and he trained in our South Jordan location. Dr. Frogley has personally mentored him, and Dr. Frogley has 25 years experience. His dad was a chiropractor. He's got 6 brothers who are, so it's in his DNA. But Dr. Bentley is great at releasing the spine and getting better hydration in those discs. And so he adjusted me a couple times last week and it felt great. So you get some adjustments, do some grip hang, get some acupuncture. These are great things to help get your whole upper body, you know, the core strong, the chest strong, the biceps, your back, everything engages. So those are the 3 tests. So get after it. Okay, so let's go into lower body, because lower body, the biggest thing, and there's a great, I read a lot of Medium articles, and there's a guy called Knees Over Toes. And if you look up Knees Over Toes, you'll see he's got some non-conventional thoughts on having healthy knees and having healthy ankles. There's another person named Kelly Starlett who wrote the book called The Way of the Supple Leopard. And he's a physical therapist, but just has phenomenal insights on getting full range of motion in your joints. And the lower body is so important that you don't just jump into these movements without proper warm up, because, you know, then you're more prone to injuries if you're not warmed up. The other thing that happens if you're not fully warmed up is you're not going to do as good on these tests. And then you're not going to have as good of range of motion. So each of these movements ideally are executed in perfection. And you don't want to just go from, you know, push-ups to grip strength to, you know, your plank. You want to give yourself time to recover in between, and ideally about a minute to a minute and a half, depending on your levels of fitness. Lower body. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at squats. And so squats are one of those primal movements that I think in all the movements that we can do in our body, squats are the most important. For so many different reasons. One being the quads. When you have strong quads, that stimulates the testosterone and the androgen hormones to help you build more muscle mass and maintain muscle mass. The other powerful thing about our legs is they keep us rooted and grounded. And so if you think about, you know, unfortunately, like with diabetes, that's a disease where you actually start to have the muscles in your legs and your butt, they start getting in a catabolic state where your body actually starts breaking down those protein structures in order to feed the sugar into the blood. When your blood sugar is all over the place, you're going to lose mass in your legs and in your butt. And many of you have seen that, where, you know, if you have blood sugar issues, you see your legs start to shrink. So one of the great things about keeping your legs strong is not only will you feel more grounded and more supported in your life, but you'll also have greater levels of balance, greater levels of stability, more confidence in your movements, and you'll be less likely to fall and have fractures in your hip, you know, injure your knees. It's just really important. So squats are really key. And if you've had knee injuries, which I know many of us have, you know, I've had a meniscal tear and I've re-injured it, you know, a few different times. Luckily, there's regenerative medicine that have really helped transform my knees and my shoulders so I can actually do push-ups. But the other thing you want to do is make sure you're strengthening these muscles, work with a physical therapist, get into the clinic. We now have a rehab person doing all the physical therapy for Dr. Steinley. Her name's Kirsten. So we can get your legs healthy and moving again. But with the squats, what you want to do is either find a chair where you're going to go down at least 90 degrees, ideally below 90 degrees. If you read Knees Over Toes, yeah, I know in high school I was taught don't squat below 90 degrees. It's hard on the knees. Actually, the science shows it's the opposite. It puts a lot of pressure on your knees when you're not going full range of motion. So if you can go full range of motion without hurting your knees, then do that. But make sure you have some support on the side so you can use your arms to push your body up if you can't do a full squat just yet. But the goal is set a timer for 50 seconds. And level 1 is where you do 20 squats in 50 seconds. These are full squats, great range of motion. Level 2 is when you get to 35 squats in 50 seconds. And then level 3 is where you do 50 squats in 50 seconds. So that's where you're, 1,000, 2,000. That's where you really got to move pretty quick. So that's exercise number 1 for the low body. Number 2 is the wall squat hold. And this wall squat hold, that's where you bring your feet about 12 inches away from the wall. And what you're going to do is, and you can do this right now, actually, even while we're talking, And, so just go ahead and rest your back against the wall, flat back against the wall, and just slowly come down to about 90 degrees or a little bit below, but make sure there's no discomfort in your knees. Keep your chest up, chin up, look at an object, look at something, fix your eyes on something in the distance, and it can help your brain stay focused so you can stay in this hold for longer. And then set your timer. So level 1 is 30 seconds, level 2 is 60 seconds, and then level 3 is 90 seconds. So that's the wall squat hold. So how did you do? And then the final one are lunges. Now, lunges are great because not only do they require balance, but they work your quads and your glutes, and they also work your core, because you don't want to let your chest fall forward when you do lunges. And ideally, if you have a trainer, bring this form to your trainer, and we'll get this circulated as soon as some of these edits are done. But the lunges are so good for you. So level 1 is where you're going to do 20 lunges. And this is where you go lunge with your left leg, then the right leg comes in front. So you're moving your body at a pretty good clip. Level 2 is where you get 35 lunges in, and level 3 is where you do 50 lunges in 50 seconds. And so this is an awesome way. Oh, good. Ruth. Hey, Ruth. Zach Bush has a great 4-minute workout on YouTube with squats and arm work. Beautiful. So yeah, get that up, because these workouts are going to help you get better scores on your fitness 50 goals. So there's the lunges. And Ruth, if you have a link where you could share with us, that would be amazing. Oh, there it is, right there. Yeah, it's on YouTube. So Diane, you can pick that link up right there in the chat box for Zach Bush's 4-minute workout. So give that a try. So lunges, level 1, 20, level 2, 35, level 3, 50. So this is your age 100. Ideally, you're going to be able to get level 1 on these. So we're all just telling the universe, and we're setting it in the calendar that when we're 100 years old, we're going to be able to do these exercises at least at level 1. And so right now we really need to start, moving and taking action on these. So let's jump into balance and coordination. Now, so for some of you, these are going to be super simple. The balance and coordination and endurance. I think with some of these strength ones, there's, it would push almost anybody, but balance and coordination. So one of the predictors of mortality is it's this test is called sit to stand. So it's not just mortality, but there's 2 of them, the sit rise test and then sit to stand. But sit to stand is when you are, you're seated on the floor, your legs are straight out, and you can use your hands, but you are sitting straight up, and then you are using your core to lean your body upwards and stand up straight. And no, you don't want to slouch over to the side, and that's not sit to stand. Sit to stand is, can you just move forward and lean in one continuous movement and stand all the way up? So this is, not only is it balance and coordination, it's core strength. And as you do sit to stand, you'll see that this requires an enormous amount of core and leg strength, requires full range of motion in the hips, full range of motion in the knees. And it does require some upper body strength as you go to stand up. So the sit to stand, level 1 is 3 of these in 50 seconds. So set a timer for 50 seconds. 5 of these is level 2. And if you can get 7 in 50 seconds, you're at level 3. So that's the fittest stage. You're doing amazing. So sit to stand, how many can you do in 50 seconds? And then the sit rise test. This is another one. Then this is interesting because the more support that you need in using sit to rise, the more likely you're going to have some kind of premature mortality. So sit to rise test, they've done a lot of research on this. I saw it on the Harvard education website. I've seen it in other places, but the sit to rise is when essentially you're cross-legged, and your goal is to just rise up out of that seated position, and you're basically putting pressure on the outside of your ankles. So it requires a lot of ankle strength and ankle mobility. and a lot of knee strength and hip coordination, and then upper body strength, because you are literally just coordinating your body and rising without using your hands. And so if you need to, the level 1 is where you may need to use one hand and two hands to get up, or even a knee to kind of shift over to a knee to stand all the way up on this from sitting. Level 2 is where you just need one little support, like one hand to help you get up. And then the goal is to be able to sit and rise with no hands. That's the ideal. That's level 3. So the final one in the balance and coordination is the single leg balance. So go ahead and pick a flat surface and stand straight and get your core engaged. Find an object. Find something that you can fixate your eye on, whether that's an image or an object, about 10 to 20 feet in front of you, and then lift one leg off the ground with your timer set. And if you can hold it for 20 seconds, that's level 1. It's a fit level. If you can hold it for 35 seconds, that's even better. That's a fitter level. And then level 3 is if you can do it for 50 seconds. And so that's the single leg balance. And so see how you do. And if you want to spice it up, close your eyes. And that's the next level. So that's balance and coordination. And so then you can score yourself and see how you do on that. And then the final one is endurance. And I think this is critical. I think we can push ourselves too hard in endurance. And I know that, I'm just as guilty of this. I'm a massive weekend warrior where I will, I'll do my weightlifting and workout during the week. I do sprints, runs, things like that. But then on the weekend, I love taking my mountain bike and just riding forever, 10, 15, 20 miles, whatever it is. I'll be down in St. George this weekend doing some mountain biking with my dad and my brother and my sister. So endurance is great. So find out what your niche is. Mountain biking is a good one for me because I time myself when I'm doing climbs. And I love it. It's a really, I get a lot of endorphins out of it. It's high intensity. You take little breaks after the switchbacks, things flatten out, and then you go, boom, you go all out again. And so it's a really good exercise for me. Running is also a great one. I love it. And so one of the things we put in endurance is, yes, you're going to have your own. And I know we have swimmers, we have runners, we have people who do rowing, elliptical machines. There's so many different ways you can get your endurance in, but I just put either you walk, you run, or you do an elliptical for the equivalent of 1 mile. And so if you've got great levels of fitness, you can get that mile crossed in 12 minutes. So that's good. That's fit. 12-minute miles, amazing. And if you're walking, you got to walk a really fast clip, maybe a little walk jog. If you run it in 10 minutes, then you are level 2, and that's amazing. And then if you can run it in 8 minutes or less, that's like the fittest level. And I know you guys are like, well, people have ran the 4-minute mile was broken a long time ago, but I get that. That's fine. We're not going for world class. We're going for, age 100. What do we want to be doing? Well, we want to be able to move our body at a pretty fast rate. And it's really amazing when you see the super centenarians running, the races. Literally running at the age of 105 is the Japanese runner who's amazing. I can't remember his name. It's Madziku. Anyway, you can look him up, but he's the Golden Bolt is what they call him. So look up Golden Bolt and you'll find him. Okay, so the next endurance is burpees. And we watched a burpees video in the hack last night. So if you don't know what a burpee is, go ahead and Google it. It's not a fun exercise, but there are modifications you can do on burpees. But essentially what you're going to do is you start in the standing position, you do it essentially a jumping jack, and then you go down onto the ground. And if you can pop down onto the ground really quick and catch yourself and it doesn't cause strain in your shoulders, then that's fine. Then you do a full push-up. And then from the push-up, you jump yourself up, and then you're in a squat position and you stand up and jump and do a jumping jack. And that's one burpee. And so ideally what you're going to do is see how long it takes you to do 50 burpees. And you are at the fit level if you can do 50 burpees in 4 minutes. you are at the fitter level or level 2 if you can do it in 3 minutes, and then the fittest level is in 2 minutes. So get after it on the burpees. And burpees are not easy, but you can also modify those. If you can't do the full push-up, then you can just jump back, jump forward. And then if you can't do a jumping jack, then just stand up straight and then come back down and do a modified burpee. It's totally fine. Modify all of these workouts. And once again, don't get stuck in the gap on this. This is what, Dan Sullivan, he said, hey, we need 3 levels. Because when I first, got some of the research to him, he said, some of these exercises are a little too much, because we just had the level 3 on there. And I agreed with him. He said, yeah, I think this is going to put people in the gap. And so, we don't want anyone to get in the gap. So on endurance, you've got your 1 mile walk, run, elliptical, you got your 50 burpees. And then if you have something you're really good at or you love, like I love mountain biking, then I make up my own times, and then I can keep score and see how I'm doing. So hopefully that helps. And so that's your fitness 50 at age 100. And Bev, good morning. Good to have you on. Do you find the best time to work out is in the mornings? I remember marathons were always 6 a.m. All of these exercises are intense. Yes. So as far as working out, there's a lot of interesting studies that show that our circadian rhythms, we actually are better at strength and coordination between about 3 to 4 in the afternoon, Bev. I love working out in the morning. It starts my day right. But if I were in a powerlifting competition, or anything that required balance or a lot of strength, then I would do that in the afternoon. Even endurance is better in the afternoon than it is in the morning. I think the reason why marathons start at 6 a.m. is because it's going to be a long day, and people, they want to get home. But from everything I've read, as far as our circadian rhythms go, you're going to be a little better off in the afternoon. With that said, I don't always, I like to just, I like to earn my shower in the morning. I like to get sweaty. I like to do something, that stimulates my brain and my blood circulation. I do my mindset morning and nice little meditation. And then I go downstairs and I work out. And that routine has been with me for almost 10 years. And so I don't miss when I get it in the morning. In the afternoons, I'm very consistent, but the afternoons, life happens, as you know. So Bev, whatever works best for you, but from just a purely circadian rhythm perspective, it's better to push it a little later. So yes, awesome, great question. So kind of just to summarize today, don't push yourself past about a 2 or a 3 on a soreness scale. Just because you aren't sore does not mean you didn't get benefits from the workouts. We're working to build muscles. And so that requires, it's muscle hypertrophy is what it's called. And that means you've got muscle growth. And so that does mean that we've got to push ourselves in the exercise. That means, getting muscle burn is going to be important, pushing yourself through some of those barriers and really holding yourself accountable. This is a tool that will help you do that. But then, make sure that exercise is also fun. And that's where I have a lot of patients who go to curves. And my female patients love that because it's, there's interaction, you're going through stations. I love CrossFit. I did that for a lot of years. Orange Theory is also really fun. There's F45. I've done that. That's fun. Right now, I just do Ben Greenfield's workout. It's so simple. He's got it dialed in. He's a friend of mine. Not only that, but he's just a genius biohacker. And you can get that on Ladder. And his group, you'll just find. I think it's just called Ben Greenfield on Ladder. And they have very, very customized workouts every day. That are great. So yeah, there's so many different things you can do, but make sure you get your body lots of nutrients. We've talked about protein. Listen to our previous episode on that. Protein will help you build muscle mass. It's hormonal health will help you keep it. There's peptides that can help you recover. We mentioned earlier, like Thymosin Beta-4, even BPC 157. You've got Tesamorelin, Sacrotropin, ipamorelin. All these can help you maintain and build better muscle and be more motivated in the exercise. Even CMAX, which I referenced on for strokes, CMAX has been studied with athletes, and they found that athletes who use CMAX, which is a nasal spray nootropic, that is a phenomenal peptide that helps you push through your perceived threshold of pain. Because remember, your mind is the very first thing that tells you can't do something. And so I do love using CMAX before I go to test myself or before a big mountain bike ride. Because it does keep your brain more focused on the exercise instead of thinking of distractions to get you out of the pain. So pain, and when I mean pain, I mean like the muscle burn. I don't mean joint pain. So yes, the final thing, just to summarize, is make sure you're getting your joints checked out. Work with our medical team. Get some regenerative medicine. Don't wait until it's too late to get your knees rejuvenated, get your body rejuvenated. Get in with our chiropractor, get some alignment, see our acupuncturist, get your energy systems going, and you're going to do just amazing. So really appreciate you guys being on today. Appreciate you listening. And we really appreciate the outpouring of gratitude that we've received lately. You guys have just been amazing as human beings. Just, we've received some testimonials that just made my day, like yours, Joan. Just with your good report card from your cardiologist, just amazing things like that have just make my life so amazing. And I appreciate you guys all for being part of it. So we will see you next week. And don't forget to get on to our Wednesday hack health accelerator challenge. And let's make sure we're all getting more fit, healthier every single day of our lives. Love you guys. Bye-bye.